Hi, I'm Wendy from Shiny Happy World, and today I'm going to show you how to blanket stitch around a felt edge without having any knots. This first step is a little bit unnecessary. I don't usually do it, but some people are very fussy about the spacing of their stitches on blanket stitches, and if you look closely you can see that there's a row of dots here. They're 1/4 of an inch from the edge of the felt, and they're 1/4 of an inch apart. You want them to make little squares, and I'm going to show you how to do that first in case you want to do that, but again, you don't have to. So I've got a clear ruler, and I line it up so that the edge of the edge of the felt is at the 1/4 inch mark, and I make sure to get my edges of the felt lined up on an even inch mark, and then I just go down and very easily every 1/4 of an inch just make a little dot. You don't want to use a big marker for this because it's not going to, your stitching will cover it unless you make a huge honkin' mark. So you want to just make small little marks that you can see to guide you as you stitch, but not anything too big. So now I'm going to show you how to do the actual stitching. Okay, I'm going to do this with 4 strands of embroidery thread. Usually on something this small I would probably just use 3, but I want to make sure that it really shows up for you. I don't like to start or stop on the corner if I can at all help it. So what I'm going to do is start a few stitches before the corner because I do want to show you how to turn the corner. So I'm going to show you how to start, how to stitch a few stitches, how to turn the corner, and then I'm going to show you how to tie it off without any knots. So the first thing I do, I've got my thread with no knot in it. And I'm just going to go in anywhere in the felt. And felt has thickness, which is going to help us out today. And what you want to do is come up right at the top of the felt where you have one of these marks. So I've just buried my needle in the felt, and I'm going to flip it over before I pull it through to check. Yep, no visible needle on that side. So what I'm going to do is now pull it up. And I'm just going to pull it until that thread tail disappears. No knot. That means for my first couple of stitches I need to be really careful not to pull it too tight. So I'm going to do my first stitch going into the next dot. So I go straight into that dot, and then I'm going to pull it up through the loop that forms. And I'm going to be very gentle here. And I'm just going to pull it until everything's snug. You don't want to pull it really tight. You don't want to dent the edge of the felt down. You want the felt to stay nice and flat. But that's going to be nice. That's one stitch. Now I'm going to go into the next one, straight in, and then bring your needle up into the loop that forms. And I've got another stitch. Go straight in, bring your needle up. And you want to just pull it tight enough so that that top stitch sits on the edge of the felt. I'm going to do one more into the corner now. Again, snug it up. Now, we want a diagonal stitch to show up on the corner, so we're going to go into that same hole. Just like you did before, come up through the loop that forms. And this time, you usually do have to do a little bit of fussing to get that to sit right on the corner. Then we're going to turn the corner, get myself a little longer thread, and go into that same hole one more time. And then snug it up. And then we just keep stitching like before. Go into that hole, come up through the loop, and snug it down flush with the edge. I'm going to do one more stitch just to get away from that corner. And then I'm going to show you how I tie it off. Again, I don't want to have any knots showing on my work. So I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to take a stitch right over the edge here because I want to hold that down. And I'm going to do just like I did at the beginning, where I'm going to work my needle down through the thickness of the felt. I'm going to flip it over to check. Yep, There's no needle showing down in there, so I know that my thread is going to be buried and hidden. And pull that down. Crinkled my felt a little when I pulled it in, so I'm going to smooth that out. And pull that flush, and then I can just snip that off right close to the edge of the felt. And you can see that I've got starting and stopping with no knots showing. Now if you ran out of thread and had to change thread partway through the project, like say I tied this off here because I ran out of thread, what I would do is thread some new thread and then start just like I did at the beginning, and I'm going to come up in the same hole that I buried it in there. So I'm going to come up through the thickness of the felt. And that's it. So that's it. It's actually really easy to do the blanket stitch without any knots showing. You're just going to bury your thread tails in the thickness of the felt. The fact that the felt has a visible thickness to it allows you to do this where you can't do it with any other fabric, and that makes it really, really perfect for blanket stitching. I'm Wendy from Shiny Happy World. I'll see you next time.